Bet on Bears fans, another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Pat the designer, Jack McGrath in the building. AI Jack.
First time in, I'm excited.
First time on the podcast, my guy. How are you today?
I'm doing phenomenal. Weather's good. College basketball, conference championships. Is this better than NFL, like divisional round weekend, the college basketball conference championships? Because you go from, what is it, 6 games in the NFL or 8 games in the NFL to now you get 25 college basketball games that are all good.
I'm not going to lie to you. I do think, and this is a tough take, I do think this is better, but it's because I love sports all day.
Yeah, fair.
And you get that with football a little bit, but there's a lot of like the pre-show, the post-show, and then you get the games and all of that. With this time of year, it is purely just basketball, nonstop, all day. Any channel you're turning on.
That's why I like the London games in the NFL too.
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning, there's football on. I go to bed at night, there's football on. I like the all day kind of thing.
Do you do see like those games like that? I'll turn the channel on when I go to sleep.
Interesting. I do not do
so
that.
I sleep. I'm doing full
sleep with the TV
I sleep
on.
with the TV on. I'm a TV on guy. But I'll turn the channel on when I go to sleep. This is like the news or whatever. It's nothing.
Yeah.
Sex in the City comes on at like 2 a.m., whatever it is, right? You got infomercials. You wake up and you're like, the betting expert. Well, they don't pay us, but you know what I'm talking about. But see,
hey, not yet.
Not yet. They're gonna pay us. But and then like you just wake up. One day I slept in. I think it was the Jacksonville game, the second week. Slept in, woke up to kickoff.
That's awesome.
Greatest feeling in my life.
I'll turn it on when I'm in bed because Sunday I'm not waking up at 8 a.m. usually. But
yeah.
I'll turn it on right when I wake up, so then I have it on. I don't fall asleep with the channel on. I'm not as dedicated to that as you, but yeah, no, I love it.
I did it this year for the first time, and then like every game after that was like it's gonna start at 8 a.m. I was like doing this. So now that's my new thing. Hey man, we got a lot to get into on today's episode. I appreciate you sitting in with us today because I want to talk about who's gonna make the biggest impact right away. I think that there's some interesting names that the Chicago Bears have brought in here. And when you talk about impact, right, it is who's going to make not only just the biggest impact to the team as a whole, but also, you know, the question we want to know. Who's going to make the biggest impact to Caleb Williams?
Of course.
We'll break down some of the players, look at some of the things that they are going to bring to this team, and some of the comments yesterday from, listen, Ben Johnson. You got me excited. As he said it, I was ready to run through a wall. It's not supposed to be easy. This thing's supposed to be hard. Write your own joke there. Before we get into that, though, we do want to tell you guys all about Advantage Auto. Chicago Bears podcast brought to you by Advantage Auto Dealer Group. Find your next Chevy, Toyota, or Acura and drive off in under 60 minutes, or they'll make your first car payment free. Also, got to let you guys know all about Mitch Lyons. I'm excited to let you guys know about our new partner in Mitch Lyons Wealth. Mitch Lyons is a former NFL player. He's an expert in protecting your nest egg and optimizing your income. Go to Mitch Lyons, Lyons Wealth. MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. Also a great follow on Twitter. I don't know if either of you follow Mitch on Twitter.
I do not. I will have to.
Great follow on Twitter. He's hitting you with he's hitting sports, he's hitting economy, he's hit all kind of stuff on the Twitter. So make sure to follow him. Let's start it off here. Jack, appreciate you, like I said, joining the show. When you look at the free agent signings, the trades that the Bears have made, who's the one that pops into your mind first is like, wow, what a get?
I think it's Joe Tuni, and I don't think it's particularly close. You're bringing in a 4-time Super Bowl champion. You're bringing in a guy who can protect Caleb Williams up the middle, which was the biggest weakness last year, and you're bringing in a guy who can mentor the rest of this offensive line. Joe Tuni, he's protected great quarterbacks. He's protected Tom Brady. He's protected Patrick Mahomes. He's been an all-pro 2 seasons in a row. I don't think it's particularly close when you're looking at immediate impact. Who's going to make that impact? And I think it's Tuni.
I mean, listen, I think you have to talk about Joe Tuni as one of the big names that are brought in because of, like all you said, the accolades that he comes with. I think the leadership is the biggest thing that stands out to me when I look at Tuni's game, right? Yes, I know he's going to be a great player. I expect him to be a great player. I expect him to play that position at an all-pro level, even at this age. But what he's going to bring stability-wise to this offensive line, I think is understated. And I said this morning on the Breeze, Jack. the confidence that I think that he's going to give Caleb Williams, when you look at last season, and me and Courtney talked about this yesterday on the show, he couldn't be confident in his offensive line.
Not at all.
When they couldn't even be bothered at times to pick him up off the ground after they messed their jobs up.
Yeah.
Like, those are the things that I think Joe Tuni is not going to stand for in this offensive line group this season.
You get the yips after a while, right? You start rushing your throws. You don't go through all of your reads because you don't have the confidence that your line is going to protect you for more than 2 or 3 seconds. There were times last year where the line looked atrocious, where Caleb was getting pressured right up the middle right away. You're right. Tuni's not going to stand for that. And he's going to help the 2 guys next to him, too. Whoever winds up playing center, well, Drew Dahlman now, we know that.
Yep.
And whoever winds up at left tackle, he's going to be able to help those guys and pick those guys up and add some extra support as well, which is going to go a long way. He's a multiplier.
Yeah.
We've heard a lot about multipliers when the Bears are making trades. He's a guy that makes the people around him better. He should make Caleb Williams better. He should make Drew Dahlman better. And he should make whoever winds up playing left tackle, whether that's Braxton Jones or somebody else, a lot better as well.
Yeah, I look at, I mean, you look at the pieces around him. I actually, because I've been the guy who's been the Braxton Jones, all right, Braxton, like, it's time. You're done. I actually think getting Joe Tuni might unlock another level for Braxton Jones.
I would hope. I'm not confident going in with him as your starting left tackle next year. If it happens, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
I'd prefer to see them maybe go grab somebody in the draft that could slide in starting left tackle, whether that's with the 10 pick. I love him. Will Campbell, if he's able to play tackle. I know there's been questions about his arm length as well. I would like to see him as well. If it's Braxton Jones, now I don't think it's the end of the world, where 2 weeks ago I would have said this is not going to go well. But right now, with that extra support, I'm a little more confident in Braxton.
Well, I think this too, right? Like, it feels like, and we don't know what Ben Johnson's scheme is going to be. We can kind of gauge it based off of what we saw in Detroit, and maybe he's going to do it this way. But it feels like with the offensive lineman he brought in, this is going to be a very run-heavy team. This is going to be a team that wants to I look at Jonah Jackson on the right side. The impact that I think he's going to have with Darnell Wright on that right side, if he's able to stay healthy, I believe is going to be very similar to what we saw when Tevin Jenkins was on that right side, where you just had, and very different statures, but just 2 road graders where you running that way. And you're not going to be able to stop us because this is where we're comfortable. That's where Braxton Jones actually, as much as I kill him in pass pro, that's where Braxton Jones actually thrives. And I think if you get that run game started and you're building everything through that, you can deal with the few moments of Braxton Jones. At times he's going to get beat. That's when Caleb has to make up for that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Drew Dahlman's run numbers were much better than his pass protection
100%.
Numbers last season.
100%.
So now you have a center who can open up the middle, and between the tackles, this should be a much better running team than it was last year. We saw way too many outside zone runs with DeAndre Swift. Roschon Johnson barely touched the ball running up the middle. I don't know if he's going to be a part of the running game this year, whether it's some other running back that they pick up in the draft or still sign to run between the tackles. But I think that's going to be a much bigger part of the game plan this year.
It's going to be, I think that's going to be interesting to see too. What is going to be the utilization of DeAndre Swift? Because listen, the one thing that we do know about Ben Johnson is when it came time to pay DeAndre Swift, he was like, all right, have a nice life. But before that happened, DeAndre Swift had a heck of a season in Detroit. That's why it was such a surprise that they moved on from him. Like, I want to say he had a 14 touchdown season that year in Detroit.
He had a great year.
He had a great year. I don't know if that's factual. I might be thinking Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams might have had a 14 touchdown season, but it was a really good season. You ended up moving on from him. I do wonder if an eight touchdown season that year. That's still a solid season. How many yards do you have that season? 8 touchdown season. 1,049 yards. 1,000 yard rush. Give me a little more. You know what I mean? I get it.
Hey,
if 1,000 yard rush.
If DeAndre Swift runs for 1,000 yards next year, I will be ecstatic if he does that. That's crazy.
5.5 yards per carry. And see that I think is the stat that really shows the difference, right? DeAndre Swift last season, 3.4 yards per carry. There's some games where he's sub 3 yards per carry. Like, those are the things that can't happen. I do want to see how the relationship with Swift and Ben Johnson is going to be in his time here.
I would agree with that. And Ashton Jeanty has been a big name for that 10th pick. And I'm not saying it, but I went back and
are you a Jeanty guy?
I am not a Jeanty guy, but I really wanted to see how different his running style is from all of these NFL running backs. So I went back and watched some DeAndre Swift tape, and I compared it to Ashton Jeanty's. And Swift's decision-making wasn't great last year. There were times when he made a couple of plays that were questionable. But generally, I really didn't think he was that bad. It was more he just never had any room to run. Ever, because the offensive line wasn't blocking for him. The tight ends weren't blocking well for him. I think if the holes start to open up a little bit more, we could see DeAndre Swift open up that next level. I think he was solid last year. He wasn't great. I don't think he was terrible, though. I think he was acceptable last season.
See, what's tough for me is I think I do sit on the terrible side of it, right? Because you only see 3 games where he has some pop. Right. And I get it. Right. He can flash as a pass catching back. He can flash as somebody who can be a dual threat back. But the part I need you to flash at, no matter what, is the running part.
Yeah.
You have to flash in the run game. I will say there are times where the offensive line gets absolutely blown up. He gets destroyed and there's nothing he can do about it. Or when your head coach or when your offensive coordinator calls a triple option on the goal line. There's not much you can do there. You know what I mean? But the one thing for me watching the tape is it got to a point, and maybe I can't blame Swift for this because Caleb Williams dealt with the same thing. I think most of the people in the backfield dealt with this, where he just wasn't trusting any of the blocking on the outside. There were moments where DJ Moore seals perfectly, and you just got to take that right, and he cuts it back inside and gets tackled for a loss or gets tackled for no gain. There are times where even running up the middle, the hole is there, it opens up, he doesn't trust it, he tries to bounce it to the outside. Like, those are the things for me where I think Ben Johnson is going to have the most uphill battle, not just with Swift, but with Caleb Williams as well. Like, you've built this offensive line, you've brought in these free agents. We talk about Joe Tuni having this immense amount of impact, and I mentioned the trust. That, to me, I think is going to be the biggest thing for the Bears this season, is building that trust with Caleb Williams and his line, because a lot of the sacks that Caleb Williams runs into, and he ran into his fair share of sacks as well, are because he thinks the pressure is coming. And so I got to create, and I got to get outside, and I got to extend this play. And it was like, no, you just needed to hit the receiver that was right there wide open when he was right there wide open.
And back to the original question, who's the most important free agent signing this year? I think the 3 most important are the 3 offensive linemen, or signings or trades. It's Jonah Jackson, it's Joe Tuni, and Drew Dahlman, probably in that order. Maybe Drew Dahlman's above Jonah Jackson. But because of that trust, Joe Tuni is a guy who brings immediate trust for Caleb Williams. He's got to trust him right away because he's seen it before. He's going to trust Drew Dahlman because he was the highest rated center in free agency. He was great with the Falcons last year. I agree with you 100%. I think that trust should go up this season because you've brought in proven veterans, whereas last year you just didn't have that.
And that's why I love what I heard from Ben Johnson yesterday, right? When I asked him, and I know the clip has gone viral of the interview, but when I asked him, how do you make this easy on the guys? And his response, this ain't supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be hard. Like, we're going to put in work. Like, I think that's going to be the part that's going to be hard. Like, it's Joe Tuni can block. Drew Dahlman can block. Jonah Jackson can block. Darnell Wright can block. You got 4 out of 5 guys on your offensive line that I'm not worried about. Braxton Jones, I think in the run blocking game is fine. They will figure it out if they're good at their job. You will figure it out. I think Dan Rashard is a good coach as well, so it'll make things easier. The hard part about all of this is going to be getting Caleb Williams to believe that the job they're supposed to do, they're going to do, so that he can focus on his job. That's the part that I think is going to be difficult at camp. That's the part where I think it's going to be difficult in training camp and OTAs and starting off the season, because to me, that's the part where Caleb Williams struggled the most by the end of last season. And it came even in moments of doubt within himself where he didn't want to overstep his boundaries, right? Last year, the Detroit game where we didn't end up running a final play, basically. We threw it down at the end where you could have called timeout and you had one to burn. And Caleb said, I probably would have done things differently, but I'm going to leave that up to the coaches.
That
changes this year in my mind.
There was too much last year of whether that was from Caleb, whether that was from Matt Eberflus, whether that was from some of his teammates. There was too much from Caleb of I'm the rookie, so I'm not in control this season.
Yes.
And hopefully that works its way out in his second season. But what I want those veteran leaders to do, what I want Joe Tuni to do, is go in and sit Caleb down and say, this is your team now. Take control of this locker room. Be the captain of this team. That's what I hope Ben Johnson tells him, that if you see a spot where you need to call timeout, you have the full green light to go ahead and call timeout. We saw it at the college level that Caleb's able to control and lead a team. I want to see that now at the NFL level. And I think we will see that eventually. But last year we didn't, because there was too much hesitancy of, I'm the young guy in the room. I'm only 23 years old. I can't be the guy telling your 30-year-olds what to do. No, Caleb, that's your job now as the NFL quarterback. Go tell these guys what to do. You're the captain now.
And I think I love that you mentioned that, because I think, and I go back to this example, the Nate Davis situation. I wonder if that happens if Caleb's in year 2.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where I'm not out there. I'm not practicing. And I did not to say, in front of people he's doing that, because even last year, right? Caleb went to bat for his offensive lineman. He's like, it's on me. I'm the one taking these sacks. I'm the one that's getting, beat up out here. I'm the one that's putting them in a bad position. They're not messing up. They were messing up. We can see it. Coleman Shelton would start snapping the football and falling over. Like, that was bad. But I wonder if the leadership concerns that we saw aren't there this season, or last season, I should say, if Caleb Williams is in year 2 and he's more confident. He's more like, there's so many things that I think this season, it's almost like Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah, right? You've got your star, but then you got to have that dude that's going to enforce it as well.
Yeah.
And the Bears just didn't have that. Like, Derrick Rose could tell somebody something and be like, this is what we're going to do. And they would do it because it's Derrick. But you also were going to do it because if you didn't, you was going to have to you're going to have to fight Joakim. And you didn't want to deal with fighting Joakim because he's tall and weirdly strong. Like, I think that is kind of the situation that the Bears are now in by adding in Joe Tuni. Caleb may say something, Mons might be like, what, young dude, second year, how you going to tell me what to do? And then Joe Tuni walks in with 4 rings on his hands, like, do we have a problem? Well, the message hits home a little stronger.
A little less
I respect you knowing that. Do we have a problem? Shout out to EO.
I agree with you. A little less eccentric than Joakim Noah, but still same principle.
Yes.
I 100%. He's an enforcer, and the Bears needed an enforcer. He won team MVP, Joe Tuni did, with the Kansas City Chiefs last year. Yeah. Not Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback possibly of all time, or close to possibly of all time, a future Hall of Famer. Not him. It was your left guard and Joe Tuni in left tackle. He won team MVP on the Kansas City Chiefs last year. This is a guy who comes in with immediate credibility to that locker room, and I 100% agree with you because of that.
Now, we're feeling all good about the signings. Of course, we have to wait until it gets to the season to see what everything's going to be, but I think another signing that had Bears fans ready to run through the wall starts on the other side of that football, and nobody expected us to be able to go out there and have an opportunity to get Grady Jarrett. I don't think any of us really realized how bad Atlanta feels their situation is with the Kirk Cousins contract, because Grady Jarrett talked about how he didn't expect to be on a new team right now. He's like, yeah, it was a whirlwind, and then all of a sudden I had a job, and here I am. Like, to me, all the things that we're saying about Joe Tuni, I feel that way about Grady Jarrett setting that same standard on the other side. And the part that I know we won't be able to see, but I can't wait to know that's going to happen, is when you have 2 alphas like you do in Joe Tuni and Grady Jarrett, and they may not see something eye to eye, and you can have that blow up moment, but then have the come back together moment. That to me is what makes good football teams. And that's why when I look at Grady Jarrett on the other side, the leadership, the intensity, the cachet, and also, right, I've said this, he talks a lot like D-Walk, like DeMarcus Walker did last season. But I got 36.5 sacks from the middle that also say, hey, I'm a problem. You should listen to what I say. There's a reason I have this long NFL career. And I think that's going to be impactful for a lot of these young guys on the defensive line.
It felt like the effort wasn't as high at the end of the season as it was at the beginning of the season last year for the Jarrett, defense, or for the Bears defense last season. That won't fly with a guy like Grady Jarrett in the locker room. Same as we said for Joe Tuni, where he's the enforcer. Grady Jarrett is now the enforcer for your defense. He's a guy that comes in with that credibility. On the other signing, Dayo Odengbo, I'm not as confident in. I need to see it still.
You don't like that one.
It was a lot of money for a prove-it deal. I'll say that. I think he could have maybe spent that elsewhere. I would have liked to see somebody a little bit more proven, but I haven't seen anything wrong with Ben Johnson signings yet. And Dennis Allen signings. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt until I see otherwise. That one concerned me a little bit. But Grady Jarrett up the middle, as long as he continues to age well, which I think it seems like his profile will age well. As long as he continues to age well, I think that's a very good signing as well.
I think the Dayo Odengbo one, a lot of people have been like you, right? Only 3 sacks last season. Is that what you want to be spending money on? The thing that I love about Dayo Odengbo, number one, he can play multiple positions. Yurko talked about this yesterday, the versatility of it. When you look at the sack numbers, though, and you go, oh, he only had, I think, 2.5 sacks last season. He also had 17 quarterback hits. He also had a pass rush win rate of 13, which means he spent a lot of time in the quarterback's face. And he said it yesterday, and I thought it was very key. He said DA, but Dennis Allen would definitely rather have a pressure in the quarterback's face that leads to an interception than me get another sack. And I think a guy that thinks that way, not to say that, because he's had the sack numbers, had 8 sacks in year 2, but a guy who's just like, if I'm being productive on the field, no matter if my numbers say I am or not, if I'm impacting what the quarterback is doing, that's what I need to do. I think that's something the Bears needed. I think you've had guys who are looking for sacks, who are hunting the sacks. They're not looking to just be impactful. And so you get like these, you're bulldogging in, and when you miss, it's like, oh, well, the play's over. No, the play's not over. You need to impact the play. And that's, to me, why I like the Dayo Odengbo signing. I think that I don't think it's crazy money, especially when you see the Josh Sweat got, what did he get, 78 million?
It was a big deal.
To go to Arizona for 4. I was sitting there, I was just like, well, I'm glad we didn't get Josh Sweat. Like, I'm actually glad we didn't spend the money. At the same time, right, you're spending the money to get somebody who does those things. And you can still go out in the draft and address that too.
I think the reason I've been so hesitant about it is because I've wanted a multiplier on that other side from 100%. Montez Sweat.
Yeah.
And I see him as another guy. And maybe that's not a fair evaluation yet of him. But right now, I don't see him as a superstar pass rusher. And what I really wanted was another superstar pass rusher to disrupt the quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, if what you're saying, he's able to create interceptions and turnovers because he's gaining the quarterback's face, then yeah, all right. That'll eventually develop.
One last season, if I'm not mistaken. I think he stripped the quarterback as he passed it.
You know,
and ran it back.
I'll take that then. But what I really wanted was a big name, a Trey Hendrickson, something like that. Which I know maybe they didn't have the money for that. Bengals might be asking too much. There's so many factors. If they ask for a first-round pick, there's like no way you're going to do that. Let's see what they do in the draft, though. There's still a chance the Bears go out and draft another edge rusher 100%. In the second round, or maybe even in the first round. And Odengbo, as a versatile guy, winds up as more of a rotational piece than your starting edge rusher. And I'd like to see that a little bit more.
We'll see what happens. I think the point on going to get the stars is very true, though, because like we were hearing all kinds of things around Trey Hendrickson. It was down to, you know, I'm hearing that they want a third for him. A third? Oh, okay. And now it seems like they want the world for Trey Hendrickson, and nobody's willing to give him the world, which is hilarious. For like, go out and find you a trade partner, but we're not going to trade you even if you find you a trade partner. So I think that's hilarious as well. But to me, like the what's the best for the long term? You've done all these other moves that are all in. I think you had to make some kind of long-term move. I think you had to make, like, and of course the draft is still going to be that. And like you said, if you go out and you get an elite pass rusher, I like Mike Green off of the edge. I think that he, to me, I feel like he can be at the NFL level, Khalil Mack kind of story. He comes up and you're like, oh, dude from Buffalo, dude from Marshall. Like, oh, okay. He resets the offensive line every single time the football snaps. Oh, this guy's a dog out there. I would like to see that as well. But I do think that you couldn't come out of this free agency and only go with right now moves. And I think a lot of the moves you made
Mhm.
with the big names are right now moves.
Oh, 100%. Tuni's what, 31,
32?
32 years
Yeah.
old. Grady Jarrett's in his 30s as well. I agree with that. And Odengbo's a guy that if he's what we think he could be, that's a guy that's going to be with the team for at least 3 years, if not another contract coming his way, 4 or 5 years. He's only what, 26?
26 years old.
26 years old. So that's a guy that could be with you long term.
I'm gonna be excited to see what he ends up bringing. When you look at, you give me your top three impactful guys that the Bears brought in this offseason. Are you all on the offensive
I'm all on the offensive line. I'd probably rank them Thuney, Dahlman, Jonah Jackson, going right across, right there. We'll go left or right.
Left or right. I'm not mad at it. You know what? It's funny because maybe I'm being, I'm drinking a little bit too much Kool-Aid, and I still only had 9 wins, but I'm drinking a little too much Kool-Aid here. But I go Thuney 1. I would say Dahlman is 2 because he's touching the football just as much as Caleb Williams is. I think Deo Odengbo is going to be a heck of an impactful player for this Bears team, dog.
I like it.
I think he's going to be somebody who helps force a ton of turnovers. And when you add in the fact that Jalen Johnson's finally going to be able to follow people around, when you add in that Tyreek Stevenson's always going to be on the number 2 guy, I get excited about this defense from that perspective, dog.
This was an elite defense at the start of last season. Before the wheels came off, before Matt Eberflus got fired, before the Washington game, this was a defense that we were praising as winning them football. They won the Tennessee game at the start of the year.
Yeah.
They held the Texans to a small number. This was a team that was going out and winning the Bears football games when the offense wasn't performing. And at the end of the year, that didn't happen. There's no reason to believe with a couple of additions and Dennis Allen now at DC, they can't rekindle that magic that they had. On the offensive line point, though, the big thing I want to see by the end of the year, because it's going to take them a little bit of time to gel, I want to see this offensive line go from last year being a weakness to this year by the end of the year being a strength of the team. I would like to see it be a top 15, may I say top 10 offensive line in football. And with the additions that they've made with Jonah Jackson, with Joe Tuni, and with Drew Dahlman, those are all guys who can contribute to a top 10 offensive line. The big question is going to be at left tackle. If Braxton Jones performs well, or if the Bears go out and get another top-tier left tackle in the draft, there's no reason that this can't be a strength of the team in a top 10 offensive line by the end of the year.
Yeah. The one thing I always say is I love when my players prove me wrong. I love watching a football team where, I think there's some people in this business that are just like, this is my point, I stand on it, and I have to be right, or I'm not valid. And it's like, I don't care. I root for this team. Braxton Jones, prove me wrong. Show me that you can withstand a bull rush. Show me that you are the left tackle of the future. The Bears clearly don't think so. They drafted Karan Amagaji to be behind you last season and probably try and take your job this season. There's still talk about tackle at the top of this draft on that left side, and that's why we look at our Mom Membo and Josh Simmons. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what kind of step Braxton Jones takes, and this could be an elite offensive line. It doesn't have to be elite at every single position, but if you're elite up the middle, I think it just changes this NFL. There's so many stout pass rushers up the middle, and the Bears played a ton of them last year that just spent all game in Caleb Williams' face, and that was just the easiest way to disrupt his game.
At the minimum, just give us an offensive line where if Caleb Williams doesn't perform well, we're not blaming the offensive line entirely.
Yes.
Right? So we can evaluate what we actually think Caleb Williams is, because I think he's a very good quarterback. But there's people who are going to say he's not because we didn't see it last year because of that offensive line. At the end of the year, it will be a success if we're able to say Caleb Williams had a good year and it was in part due to his offensive line, or we're able to evaluate Caleb Williams and say he wasn't as good as we thought he would be this year, but it wasn't because of the offensive line. It was for some other reason. This season will be a success on the offensive line if that can happen.
Does Caleb have to prove to you that he's a good quarterback this season?
No.
Oh,
I think it's second year's not necessarily a prove it year. Year 3 for sure is the prove it year, because then you're starting to make decisions on that contract. I'd like to see another step taken this year for Caleb Williams. He's touted as a generational prospect. I would like to see him play like a generational prospect. He was good last year, but he wasn't the best quarterback in the draft last season. I would love to see him pass Jaden Daniels.
Wasn't even the second best quarterback in the draft last year.
No, I mean, Bo Nix looked great. There were plenty of quarterbacks in that draft that looked great. But I would like to see him take that next step and maybe look like the best quarterback from his draft next season. If that doesn't happen, I'm not sounding the alarm and saying he's not our guy. I saw enough last year to say this can still be the guy, and I give him that grace for at least one more season.
Yeah.
This is not the prove it year for me. Maybe next year is the prove it year for me. This season won't be the prove it year.
See, the only tough part about that for me is we can talk about all the moves and all the different things that have happened, but like every piece that has been brought here has been brought here for him.
Yeah.
He's the only quarterback in Bears history that's gotten this.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Johnson was brought here for you. Antoine Randall was brought here so receivers can catch your passes. Eric Bieniemy was brought here so that we can engage the running game so that play action works for you. Al Harris is in the building so that we can take the football away to get it back to you. Like it's every move that has been made with 3 offensive linemen. It's made to make Caleb Williams' life, for lack of a better word, because I know Ben Johnson said that none of this is easy, but to make his life easier, to make the things I have to worry about are being a good quarterback, not I have to be a good quarterback while my left tackle just died and my center has fallen over for some reason. And Darnell Wright has no idea who to block because 4 guys are coming from his direction. And we got to figure this out. And now I just got to be Superman. Right? Remember last year, go be Superman. Like go be Superman is not a great game plan. I'd rather have, plays. But I thought that I feel like it's tough to leave this season and not see a massive amount of improvement, dare I say the same level of improvement that we saw just from the Bears organization this year, and not feel like, wow, we may have missed on this one again. We may have missed again. That would be tough for me.
If there's any improvement, I'll be happy. I think if there's any improvement, if we see a little bit of improvement next season, because last year as a baseline wasn't horrible.
No, if he puts up the same numbers this season with wins,
that's okay.
I think we're all good.
100%. The touchdown interception ratio was good. The yardage wasn't terrible. I'm not at that point. If the stats look a little bit better and the eye test looks a little bit better, I'm okay next season. I don't need to see him take massive strides. If he takes the same strides that we think the Bears took this season, that means he's probably a top 10 quarterback. Because right now I'm sitting in this room thinking the Bears have taken huge strides.
Yeah.
Like this is a team that I'm saying their offensive line could go from a weakness to a strength. This is a team that the receiving corps should be just as good as last season. They just signed their wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
And Rome Odunze should take a step forward. And DJ Moore should look a little bit more like the DJ Moore from 2 years ago. I can't expect him to take that big of a stride with the team. I can expect him to improve. I don't expect him to the minimum expectation. I don't expect that to be some ginormous leap into top 10 quarterback range. If he's an above average quarterback next year, that will be acceptable for me. If he's a top 20 quarterback next year, which I think he's pretty close to already being, that's acceptable for me as well.
It's going to have to be a lot. I don't know. I feel like the top 10, because that's what you drafted him to be.
In year 2, though?
But see, here's my thing, though. But you're giving him the tools to be it.
Fair.
You know what I mean? That's my problem. That's the only reason where it's like, I want to live in that world with you where he can be the 18th best quarterback in the NFL and we feel good about it. But we're giving him the tools. We're giving him the coach. We're giving him the lineman. We're giving him the wide receiver. He's got the wide receivers. He's got the tight end. He might get another tight end in this draft, possibly. We're probably giving him another running back. We're giving him everything that he needs to succeed. Now, like for me, I know a lot of people look down on how Jalen Hurts plays, but like Jalen Hurts is a top 10 QB. You can't be Jalen Hurts level. Like there's a lot of other things that work. And we know that make Jalen Hurts good. But like last season, in the Super Bowl, when they were selling out to stop Saquon, and they stopped Saquon for the most of that game, and they had to turn to their quarterback and say, well, it's on your arm, bud. He's dropping dots. He's not missing guys. He's not overthrowing guys, which was a major issue for Caleb Williams last season. He's not, and I get all of those things go into the fact that bad offensive line, guys in his face, pressure, all that stuff. We're taking that away in theory. We got to see it on the field, right? But this offensive line should take away the pressure in Caleb Williams' face. I need to see you improve to at least the Jalen Hurts level of quarterback.
Do you think Jared Goff's like what, 12, 13, 14, 15-ish range of quarterbacks? That's kind of where I'm at with Jared Goff right now, right? Or do you think he's higher?
Jared Goff was playing at an MVP level until the 5-interception game.
I was going to say
Jared Goff was an MVP candidate until that 5-interception game.
Fair enough, but I was going to say from an eye test.
He came back to earth hard.
From an eye test perspective,
yeah,
I would like Caleb Williams to look as good as Jared Goff next season. I'd like him to look on par with the rest of the division next season, because I think Jordan Love's in that mid-tier range. I think Jared Goff personally is in that 10 to 15 range, maybe a little bit higher.
10 to 15,
maybe a little bit higher. I think Sam Darnold last season, or whoever Minnesota winds up with the quarterback, whether that's
same situation again this year.
I would like to see him on par with the rest of the division next season, which is about, in my opinion, an average quarterback. And if he gets there, happy. Doesn't need to be top 10.
I wouldn't be, but listen, 10 is still top 10.
Yeah, fair enough.
10.
Yeah.
I'm not mad
if he gets there, I'm ecstatic.
If you're 10 through 15, I don't think I'd be upset, because here's the thing: 10 through 15 means you're winning. Mm-hmm. And if you're winning in Chicago, realistically, we're gonna call you a god, so you'll be number one. I'll put my quarterback up against anybody, but it's if he's in that 10 through 15 range, that means you're doing a lot of winning. That means Ben Johnson has worked. That means you have answers that right now in free agency and in the offseason feel like answers, but are still questions. I love Grady Jarrett. I think he's going to be impactful. Grady Jarrett had 2.5, 3 sacks last season, something like that. Now he's coming from the middle. He's still getting a ton of pressure on the quarterback. And I think that is still very important as well, and probably more important to me than him getting 10 sacks a season. But Grady Jarrett's also getting old. Like, that may not work. I can guarantee this, Bears fans. Some of the moves aren't going to be good. It might be the Dio Dangbo move. It might be Grady Jarrett. I hope it's not Joe Tuni.
It won't be.
I don't think it's going to be Joe Tuni. It might be Jonah Jackson. Something is not going to work. Nope. I haven't seen a team in a long time that's gone 100% in free agency. There's usually a move that you look at and say, we expected more there. But it still should be enough for Caleb Williams and the Bears as a whole to take that next step. And that's what you're hoping for in the long run.
Yeah. Just a little bit of a development. That's all I need. Just a little bit of a step forward. I don't need as big of a step forward as you do, but as long as he takes a step forward, season's success.
You need 3,800 yards instead of 34.
Hey, that's all right. I'll take
38 and 25.
It's really more of an eye test than anything else.
Does he look like it?
Does he look like the guy? Does he look more like the guy than he did last year?
See, and I think I don't think we're saying too much of a different thing. To me, the big thing I need to leave this season with is, I know Caleb Williams is our quarterback of the future. Now, is he the guy that is 10 years down the road? You have to have him. But right now, I need to know he's going to get his second contract. That's all I need to leave next season with.
Fair. I also thought that about Justin Fields after year 2. We were all leaning towards Justin Fields.
You know, I wanted Justin here, but we went a different route. And I'm not mad at the route we went. Caleb's an upgrade. I'm willing to admit Caleb is an upgrade. I'm fine with it. I'm happy he's here. We'll see what Justin Fields does. They building the Ohio State Jets over there.
I'm concerned about how that's.
Yeah, you know what's funny is somebody sent it to me. It was like, we need to talk about. One of the guys on the Breeze on my show. He said we need to talk about how the Jets are trying to do what Philly did with Georgia. And I was like, yeah, but that's a lot of Georgia linemen. That's a little different.
I don't buy
going out and getting the quarterback and the wide receiver.
I don't buy into the college stuff as much. I think these teams are just picking the best players, and they so happen to like how these teams coach or something like that. I don't buy into they're drafting guys intentionally or bringing in guys.
There's a lot of Georgia dudes in Philly.
There is a lot of Georgia dudes.
They might be doing it there.
I'm concerned about Fields though, man. Like I still think he's a guy who could eventually flip a switch and have a Sam Darnold-like or Geno Smith-like resurgence in the right system.
Yeah.
But my confidence that the Jets are going to be the right system is so low. I do not trust that organization.
With a defensive coach.
Yeah, that just doesn't seem like a good fit for him to go out and be what he can to play to his full potential.
Yeah.
I
mean, if you're the coach that gets Justin Fields right, you get a head coaching job.
Oh, 100%.
Am I tripping on that? Like, I feel like if you're the coach that unlocks Justin Fields, you get a head coaching job. Like, sorry, Justin, like, you can't just follow you. Well, actually, Justin can. He's only on a 2-year deal. I guess he could follow him to the next spot, but that'd be.
I'm happy he has a starting job. I hope he proves everybody wrong still, and he is the quarterback of the future for the New York Jets. I just don't trust their infrastructure.
As long as he's not better than Caleb Williams, that's all I care about. Hey, man, we appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love as always. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. We appreciate Jack McGrath, Jack, joining the show. Let the people know where they can find you at, my guy. You're famous now. Get on the Twitters.
Jack McGrath TV is my Twitter. I'm in the radio sphere, but I was doing some TV, and I have a Jack McGrath TV Twitter
You're so
handle.
comfortable here, dog.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And so Jack McGrath TV is the Twitter handle.
Or X handle, whatever.
Whatever you call it.
We got to update the boy. I don't care anymore. Make sure to tap in with me and Pat the Designer on everything, man. Shout out to Eric Ostrowski for producing the show. As always, y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bread down. One love. Peace.